Hello everyone, Namaskar. Welcome to our learning platform. I am Panjwani Shaifali from T.N. Rao College for Teachers Education. So today we are going to discuss about memory. What is memory? What is the process for the memory? If we first look towards what is memory, a memory is a new experience determined by the disposition laid down by previous experiences, the relation between the two being clearly understood. A memory, we can say that it is a path between the previous experience to a new experience to relate the past experience with the new one. Again, if we see the another definition for memory, the power that we have to store our experiences and to bring them into the field of consciousness sometime after the experiences have occurred is termed as memory. We all have experienced so many kind of the situations or experience in our past memory. But to bring them back into the field when it is required is termed as a memory, said by Rayburn. If we see that what is the process of memory, then it is shown in four different levels: learning, retention, recall, and recognition. If we first simply say it, then the things are first learned, then retained, then those are recalled, and we recognize it later. Let's see it step by step. The first one is learning. Learning is the very basic factor of memory. We cannot remember many of the things without learning them. For storing anything in our memory, we need to learn the thing first and then we can store them. So for keeping anything in our memory, we need to first go and learn those things and then we can store them in our memory. Getz has said, learning is the modification of behavior through experience and training. Getz has said that the learning, what is learning? Learning is the modification of behavior through experiences and training. Whereas for a good memory, learning is very essential. Guilford has also said, for an efficient memory, learning is more than half the battle. If you want a very good memory, then the learning is the essential part. If you are a good learner, if you have learned it well, then you can remember it for a long time. The next step is retention. So the everything that we have learned are not necessary those are stored in our memory. It is not necessary that everything we learn are stored in our memory or we remember. We remember the things that are retained in our mind. So the next step for efficient memory is retention. There are certain factors that affect the process of retention. There are so many things. Those affect the capacity of retention of ones. So let's see them. The very first one is learning methods. So, the retention power is dependent on the way how one has learned the things. If there are some good methods used for teaching them or for learning of them, then those things can be retained for a very long time. Mental situation of a learner. When the learning process is going on, at a time, what is the mental situation of learner is also important. Third one, learning speed. Everyone's learning speed may not be the same. The smart guys may have a very good learning speed, whereas the other guys in the class may not have such a speed of learning. So, the retention power is again dependent on their learning speed. The next one is individual differences. Every person in the class may not be the same. Everyone has a different capacity of retaining or learning. So, the retention power is dependent on the individual differences also. And the last one is logical thinking. How the person takes the information. What do it think on it? Their logical thinking on the specific topic also matters for their retention power. The next step is recall. The process of recovering the past experiences learned by a learner is called recall. We may have experienced a lot of things and may would have passed through a lots of situations. But when we recover those things, when we are able to implement those things in our new experiences, that is called recall. Informations those are learned and retained are to be again recovered for the use is called recall. If we simply say it in a simple words, informations those are learned and retained are to be again recovered for the new use. Recall is directly dependent on retention. If a learner has a good retention, it may have a good recall. Again, there are two types of recall. The very first one is spontaneous recall. Spontaneous recall includes everything. Those we are able to recall without any aim or without any incident or without relating it with a new experience is called a spontaneous recall. It can also be said independent recall. The second one is deliberate recall. Deliberate recall again is dependent on some aim or with continuous efforts when we are able to remember something that is called deliberate recall. Recognition. The next step is recognition. To be conscious about past retained experiences is called recognition. We may have a lot of experiences stored in our memory. We would have retained them, but when we keep them in our film or when they are conscious, that is called recognition. The first revelation of one's retaining power means recognition. Everything that are stored, everything those are retained, when they are revealed in front of, that is called recognition. Recognition means simply recall or recognize the past experiences or informations retained. There are two types of recognition. Indefinite recognition. We would have passed through a lot of things. We would have traveled, studied in different institutions. We may have met a lot of people. Many a times we feel that I have seen this person, but you are unable to remember anything about him or her. You may not remember their name, address, where would you have met, but what you remember is you know that person. Such kind of recognition power is called indefinite recognition. And the next one is definite recognition. When you remember everything exactly about a person or a place is called definite recognition. When you are able to have the fixed information or the correct, accurate information about anything, that is called definite recognition. For example, when you have seen a movie and you remember the whole story exactly, that is called a definite recognition. When you are able to remember many of the things and when you are able to retain those things definitely, that is called a definite recognition. So we will learn about memory, how to increase our memory and how to decrease the forgetting power in our next lecture. Goodbye. Thank you.